Do not eat too much animal protein. It linked to risk of disease mortality. Today, the optimal macronutrient composition of a diet for supporting longevity remains unclear. Earlier studies have indicated that a higher animal protein intake and especially the consumption of processed meats such as hot dogs, sausages, bacons and cold cuts has been associated with increased all-cause mortality risk, while higher plant protein intake has indicated either no association or has been related to decreased risk. A recent clinical study consisted of 2,641 Finnish men, aged 42-60, and the average age was 53 years at baseline. Estimated protein intakes with 4-day dietary records at baseline and collected data on disease deaths from the National Causes of Death Register. This study of dietary protein and protein sources with risk of disease death from cardiovascular diseases, other chronic diseases and metabolic conditions was conducted in Finland and found that Finnish men who favored animal protein over plant-based protein in their diet had a greater risk of death in a 20-year follow-up than men whose diet was more balanced in terms of their sources of protein. According to the study, Finnish men who ate more than 200 grams of meat per day had a 23% higher risk of death compared to those eating less than 100 grams a day in balanced ratio of animal and plant-based protein in their diet. In this cohort of Eastern Finnish middle-aged and older men, a higher total protein intake appeared to be associated with increased mortality risk, mainly among those with a disease history at baseline. Moreover, the study also found that a high overall intake of dietary protein was associated with a greater risk of death in men who had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or cancer at the onset of the study. Another report published in the Archives of Internal Medicine indicated that every extra daily serving of unprocessed red meat, steak, hamburger, pork, etc. increased the risk of dying prematurely by 13%. Processed red meat, hot dogs, sausage, bacon, and the like, upped the risk by 20%. This study suggests that the increased risk from red meat may come from the saturated fat, cholesterol, and iron of the livers, potentially cancer-causing unhealthy compounds, that is heterocyclic amino acids, advanced glycation end products and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons generated when cooking red meat at high could also contribute. It is very important to realize that apart from meat intake, other protein sources, that is, dairy, fish, egg, and plant protein sources, were not associated with mortality risk. These results strengthen the evidence that a diet rich in animal protein and meat might not be optimal for long-term health. These findings also suggest that those with predisposing diseases might be more susceptible for harms of high protein intake. Although controversial studies say it's okay to eat red meat, however, the big picture relating to the health effects of animal protein and different protein sources needs to be studied further. Health tips for you. 1. Advice from the World Health Organization. WHO, and numerous studies published over the last decade, all of which point to the health and environmental benefits of eating less meat and more plant-based foods. 2. Avoid high heating, above 150 degrees C/300 degrees Fahrenheit, that is grilling, broiling, frying and deep frying. Use gentler cooking methods like steaming and stewing instead of grilling and frying. Three, if you must cook at a high heat, flip your meat frequently to prevent it from burning. 4. Do not expose red meat to a flame directly. 5. Do not eat charred and or smoked food. 6. Marinate red meat in lemon juice, garlic, red wine or olive oil to reduce harmful compounds in foods. Thanks so much for watching this video. I wish you great health, wealth and happiness every day.